How's everybody doing? Good. Good to see you guys. Thank you for spending your morning with us in July. I'm happy about this turnout. A lot of people are traveling right now. So thank you for being here. We've got a great meeting for you today. Great guest speaker. Some great content on listings and what the market's doing. But to kick off our meeting, I thought I'd reintroduce you. Many of you know Jill Cox with Chicago title now.
Good morning, everybody.
And I just wanted to quickly say, some of you have heard me tell this story, but Jill was the very first title rep I ever met. She was at First American. I was maybe like 20 years old.
Just a baby.
Cutting
his teeth in the real estate industry.
And as you know, we keep having Jill come back to our meetings, regardless of the company, because she provides so much value, and I'm just so excited to learn more about Chicago. So, Jill, Dan, thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's great to see everybody this morning. I've got a handful of things I want to touch on, kind of on a quick high level. If anything piques your interest, just reach out and we can kind of chat more about each of those things. First thing I wanted to do is introduce this handsome gentleman next to me here. This is Dan Thrasher. Dan is one of my closers in our DTC office. When I'm trying to identify a great closer fit for a broker, I really focus. I mean, of course, all closers should have great communication and be knowledgeable in the industry. Those are a given. But personality and culture and vibe is also really important because they're such a critical part of you and your business and a reflection on your clients and yourself. So I was just telling Paul, if I were going to kind of hand design a closer that I think would be a perfect fit for Equity Colorado, it's Dan Thrasher. To me, and I've worked with your office for so many years, and I love the vibe and culture of your office. You have a culture of friendliness and warmth and success and helping each other and sharing and warmth. And a lot of that, I mean, that comes from the top down, and I can't say enough great things about Paul, but I love the feel and vibe of your office. And so I really encourage you to give Dan an opportunity. I'm there in the office with him. He is so friendly. He's so welcoming to buyers and sellers who come in. He provides a beautiful closing experience. He answers his phone when you call, which sadly is kind of a lost art in title for some reason. But I hear him all day picking up the phone, and he's so delightful. So I really encourage you to give him an opportunity. One quick thing I wanted to mention, so where I come in as your rep, as you know, I'm a full commission salesperson like you. So I'm highly motivated to help you close more deals so we can close more deals with Chicago so we can all have success together. So one of the things I've been helping my clients with right now does anybody have any stuck listings or listings that are sitting, or if you know anyone who's had a listing, it's like, oh my gosh, why isn't this listing selling? Okay. So I've been able to, for the last 4 months, been really diving into market data and using AI to crunch massive amounts of data in a real micro market, like in the subdivision where your listing is sitting. AI can look at hundreds of columns of data, of Excel spreadsheet data. I've got these multi-page prompts that will have it analyze that information and generate a beautiful report that will basically say, this is why this listing isn't selling. Whether it's, properties over this price point, buyers aren't valuing that finished square footage, finished basement, whatever it may be, HOA fees, it can pinpoint what it is, and then we can generate a report that comes up with an analysis of here's how you get this listing sold, here's what has to happen. So now you're armed with real data, not just a feeling, like, I don't know why this isn't selling, or I think we should lower the price. This is hard data you can present to a seller. So happy to help you with that. Reach out I can teach you how to do it. I can pull reports for my clients. So wanted to mention that to you. Second thing, am I okay on time? Okay. Association Online. Association Online, they're like the #1 provider of association documents in Colorado. They now have the ability to provide association documents to you and to your seller at time of listing, instead of waiting until you're under contract. And then they will update that package for free for the life of that listing. So just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. If you want to find out more, I can, provide Paul with that information or reach out to me. There's more to it. They have pre-listing reports that they can provide now. They have full-blown HOA listing, full listing reports that include even more information that really dive into all the meat of that HOA data that you're really needing to provide up front. So lots more on that subject. I won't go into that, but just want to stick a bug in your ear. Home books, wanted to remind you, we can provide these home books to you. They are $10, customized to you. We'll overnight them to you or to your listings. And then last thing I wanted to mention is Chicago Title has partnered with Johnson Creative Team. They are a listing photography company here in our market. I think they provide the most beautiful listing photography that I've seen in my 20 years. They offer discounted pricing to our clients. I'm going to send a couple of little pricing sheets around to all of you. What I love about them is they will do social media reels, so you can show up on that video shoot and you can talk. They'll create several different reels to provide to you to post on social. They do sign and lockbox install and takedown and storage. And they just have beautiful white glove customer service. They're amazing. So I'm going to send a couple of these around. And then lastly, speaking of Johnson Creative Team, I have these great little free photo package giveaways. So if you would pass cards down, and we'll throw them in a basket, and I'm going to do a drawing, and then these are worth $250 a piece to do a photo shoot with Johnson Creative Team. So this covers their basic package, or it can go towards, the higher up packages. So it's basically like a $250 gift card for you guys. So, all right. Woo! That was a lot, but lots to cover. Thank you guys so much. Please reach out if you have a listing coming up we can help you with.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
And of course, they need no introduction. Amir Razi and Brianna Collette are in-house lenders with Own Home Loans.
Thank you, Paul.
Hi guys, thank you.
Yep, as Paul said, we are your in-house lending team, Brianna and I. So we're here for you guys for really anything you need, lending questions, marketing support, pretty much anything you can think of. We have two important things to be aware of that we want to announce today in a quick rate update for you. But one thing that I don't think has quite got a lot of news coverage, or it's just kind of starting to happen, is insurance companies are changing the way they're insuring single-family homes, planned unit developments, and so forth. And what I mean specifically by that, and I don't know if you remember the insurance rep that was here a couple meetings ago, but he was talking about how the biggest cost for most insurance companies is replacing a roof, right? Roofs 10, 20, 30, 40 grand, whatever to replace. And so a lot of insurance companies now are trying to insure roofs based on their cash value, not the replacement cost. And this has become much more prominent with roofs that are older than 10 years. The problem in doing that is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which do about 2/3 of all home mortgages, so this applies to all lenders, will not allow that. They don't allow a cash value replacement for a roof. And so State Farm, we're just seeing lots of agencies do this. They're sending us insurance policies. The buyer doesn't know, goes to underwriting. The underwriter finds out that this is a problem. So the moral of the story here is to make sure your home buyers are getting an insurance policy at the very beginning of the process. So if they're picking their lender, of course, if they didn't pick them, we know you'd send them to us. But if they're picking their lender and they're waiting till the last minute to get a homeowner's insurance policy, make sure they do that early on. John, I think you and I had one recently that kind of fell into this bucket. But yeah, any homes that your buyers are buying that have a roof older than 10 years, especially try to remember to remind them to go out and get their insurance early on. Brianna, I'm gonna let you talk about the VA termite.
Well, and I just
inspections.
wanted to say that
I partner with an insurance broker, so I get my quotes up front. He works with all the major insurance companies in Colorado except State Farm.
Okay.
So if you guys need help getting quotes on, your buyers are shopping for something, your sellers are wanting to know if anything needs to be done, anything wonky with that property, let me know and I can help get that quote.
Yeah, and it is something that can kill your deal.
Yeah.
Just so you know. So it's an important.
Are there companies that are going to do full replacement value? Because what I was told on one of our deals that it's over 10 years. I've been told by separate insurance agents that nobody will do anything but cash value. By the way, in Houston, it's 1 year. So you're seeing people replace roofs that don't need to be replaced just so they can get their
the mortgage.
So are you seeing that there's insurance companies that are still saying if it's over 10 years, we'll do full replacement?
Allstate will do 15. At least that was as of like a week ago. That may have changed, but yeah, it's becoming harder and harder to get a roof insured if it's over 10 years of age. But Allstate is one that'll do, or was one. Hopefully they still do up to 15 years. But
yeah, I can't speak to the industry in general if there are companies out there.
I mean, I was just curious.
But there's definitely going to be a demand because
we're having to tell sellers
Yeah.
that if they have a roof over 10 years and their buyer has a loan, you can plan on replacing the roof, even if it doesn't need it.
potentially, yeah, there's it's just something you want to know about as early as possible. So,
some insurance companies are allowing like recertifications of the roof and things like that. But
yeah,
you
I've
gotta
seen a
talk to the
variety of
insurance broker.
solutions
Yeah.
out there, but yeah.
Thank you.
So VA, just at the end of June, made an announcement that they didn't really put any notices out there. There was no circular for us to be aware of, but they added Colorado to the list of states that require a termite inspection on every single VA loan. That was a fun surprise a couple days before closing for my VA buyers. We got it done. And then they just updated on the 11th, so just a few days ago, VA came back out with an update letting us know that only certain counties in Colorado require that termite inspection. And really, it's the southern ones, it's those warmer, drier counties. The list of those counties is here for you. If you have any questions about what properties need that VA termite inspection, give us a call. We can look it up and make sure that your property is or is not on that list before you order one or forget to order one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So those counties are on here for you guys. Last but not least, I've talked to a lot of you, business dragging a little bit, especially with buyers. Everyone's wondering what's going to happen with rates. Are rates going to start dropping? Hopefully get some momentum in the buyer's market. And if you look at this chart, this is from Fred, but mortgage rates are pretty steady, right? This is a pretty narrow range graph here, right? We've got basically 6.6 to 7%, and the range has actually been a little bit more narrow than that. But rates have been pretty steady. The big drivers are very similar to the last meeting we had. We have, tariff announcements, job reports, and inflation data. Inflation data is still relevant, but it's not as relevant as it used to be. The CPI, again, came in lower recently. It did have some movement in the bond markets, but it wasn't a big difference like we would have expected it to be last year. So I don't know if you guys are part of our rate newsletter, but if you guys want to get those kind of end of the week rate updates, just let Brianna and I know, and we can add you to that list. And that's all we have. Do you guys have any questions on any of these pieces before we get the meeting started?
This is a comment. If you end up with a VA loan and you have to have a termite inspection and termites are found at that property, I cannot recommend Terminix. Based on my own personal experience, I just recommend you find it. If you want specifics, I'm happy to share. But it's been a nightmare.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of a who do we get to do that? Ortho man, something like that. They do need to be licensed, so make sure that they're a licensed professional. There's a particular form that VA wants that inspection report on. So if you need any help, let us know. I've got a list of inspectors that we can generate per county for certain specialties that are licensed to do certain things, and I can help you guys find those. I have one more to add, and that's putting together your winning team. Jill, your tools are incredible. I don't know if anybody sat in on her AI class, but I learned a lot. Holy smokes. But I love one more time, association.com, is that what it is? Association Online. I love that you can get those association docs up front. Did you guys know that we have the ability to do a TBD condo review? So if you've got a listing, I get a lot of questions. Hey, Brianna, do you think this condo will be approved? Do you think the insurance is adequate? And I'm like, I don't know, send me everything and I'll send it in. And we'll have the condo team review it, and we'll make sure that it's not gonna have any issues, or if we are gonna have things like deductible issues and we can't go conventional, good for you to know that before you get your condo listed. So if you can get those docs from Jill, then send them here, and we'll send them in to get them reviewed by the condo team, so you've got that pre-approval on that condo project before your listing goes live.
Same with the buyer.
Yes, exactly. Same with the buyer. But there you go. There's your winning team right there.
And those come back very quick, usually same day. So.
Any other questions, you guys? Okay. Well, enjoy breakfast. Have a good meeting. Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, guys. Thanks again to our breakfast sponsors. I can pass these real quick. I have a fun kind of story that I wanted to tell you guys that ties into our theme for 2025, which is resilience. What a resilient year that you guys have gotten through. I mean, we were kind of freaked out last year when August took place and all these changes happened. You guys are crushing it now. Your contracts are really clean. You're negotiating commissions. I just wanted to point that out, that you guys are a very resilient bunch, and we're headed the right direction. But I'm always thinking about you guys. And recently, my wife and I, we took the kids to Ireland, and we went to a place called Greystones. And I wanted to show you the map real quick to kind of set the scene of this story of how it ties into resilience. So that's where we stayed, just south of Dublin. And you got this Irish Sea right there. It's cold. It's dreary. I mean, today's the perfect day to tell this story because those clouds out there were identical to what we were seeing in Ireland. So this is where we stayed. This little beach right here, it's called the Cove. And that picture almost makes it look like it's a warm, nice, sunny beach that you actually want to go dive into. This is what it looked like the majority of the days we were there. It was cold, it was dreary, it was rainy. Those are my two kids, River and Goldie. Anywhere we take them, if there's a body of water to throw rocks into, they will literally do that for 4 hours, 5 hours. Their favorite thing to do. So that's kind of what it looked like the whole time we were there. It's rough waters. We dip a toe in, like that is freezing. And we Googled it, we're like, I wonder how cold the water is at the Cove in the Greystones, Ireland. And it ranges from 42 to 56 degrees. And we went during the hot season. Yes, and I've got a friend from Ireland. His name's Killian, and he's like, "You guys are gonna love it over there. It's hot. You probably bring your swimsuits and go take a dip in the water." I'm like, all right, cool. We dipped our toe and we're like, "No, we're not gonna do that. That's freezing." So we're on the beach, throwing rocks in, having fun, and then in the corner of our eye, we see this sweet older lady. She's probably 75 years old. She's got this big heavy coat on. She's just slowly walking up to the water. And then boom, we're like, that's a lot more skin than I would expect to see in this weather. She strips down to a swimsuit. And she just goes right in, just does her swim. And Mandy and I are like, that is insane. That water is freezing. And she's just swimming like it's Huntington Beach in California. So I did a little research. This isn't who we saw, but it sets the scene perfectly to paint the picture for who she was. This is Claire O'Dwyer. This is a real person. That's not who we saw. She's a 75-year-old Irish cold water swimmer. Total badass. And that is what she looked like on the beach, just swimming. And after she comes out of the water, she's swimming for probably about 20 minutes. And you know me, I'm like, that was impressive. I walked up to her, how do you guys do that? That's just insane. And in the sweetest Irish accent, she responds with, we're Irish. We're used to it. We love a cold swim in the rain. And it was such a funny moment. And the conditions didn't have to be perfect. And I love that about the Irish people, is that whatever they need to get done, whatever they want to go do, nothing will stop them, despite cold waters, rain. She just jumped in there and enjoyed it, and it was cold. So we did more research. We're like, this is a thing. This is a thing people do over there. So here's another picture of the same cove. They just go swimming in this water. And I wanted to point out, there's a double jacket right there, winter coats, beanie. It's cold. And people they swim. They don't care. They just want to go in the water and take a swim regardless of those conditions. So Mandy and I, my wife, were like, do you think we could do it? I don't know if we could do it. That's pretty cool. I'm not good with cold weather. So tying this into resilience, I came up with 2 quotes. The first is kind of this mental process that Mandy and I went through for the 2 weeks we were there. The rain is only water, and I am not made of paper. I love that quote. It's just water. It's not going to hurt anything. And then Ralph Waldo Emerson, hard things become easier, not because they change, but because we do. So over the course of visiting that beach, there's like 12-year-old kids jumping in and 15-year-old kids jumping in and probably 80 to 85-year-olds just swimming. And we're like, we got to do this. We got to push ourselves. So we did. And, so this truly was like a highlight of the trip, because I'm terrible with cold, but we forced ourselves. We're like, resilience, baby. I got to tell our equity crew about this story. I got in the water, dunked. Mandy got in and got right out. I was freezing cold, like it takes your breath away. It's 46 degrees or something like that. Dunked my head, did a little swimming, and then I realized that water is kind of pushing me out a little bit. So I better reel it in, and I called it a day. But that's the first thing I thought of on our walk back to our house was, I got to tell the equity crew about that, because true resilience, the fact that you can't wait for all the conditions to be perfect. If it's important enough to you and you have the drive to do it, you'll do it. And we got to live that. So that was one of the biggest highlights of our trip, is just swimming in the Irish Sea. And if you ever get the chance to do that, I highly recommend it. So resilience, I hope that ties into resilience. I just wanted to share that with you guys. So real quick, before we turn it over to our guest speakers, I want to just quickly welcome our new agents. If you're new to Equity, or if you are just checking us out, or maybe it's the first meeting you've ever attended, I've got an Equity e-pin for you. Feel free to just say hi. We won't put too much pressure on you. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but we'd love to say hi to any new agents. Did I meet you?
I know, last meeting. Yeah. It's in my car.
She's a CPA, very strong accounting background.
Yeah. And I'm just, I've decided to start my real estate career. I love helping clients, and I think, my dedication to customer satisfaction will help me guide my clients to find their perfect homes. Originally from Bulgaria, moved to the United States 20 years ago.
Our team is growing with so many good people. We've got 2 or 3 more joining this week that I can't wait to introduce you to at the next meeting as well. And on that note, before I switch it over to our guest speakers, agent referrals. So anybody who is referred to Equity, I like to give you a nice little $10 gift card for your referrals. Sharon Ramirez referred Alan Anash, which he will be joining. Sarah Klassen, she's out there in Hawaii right now. She referred Kevin Green, who's joining on Friday. And then Peter Drugsma referred Maite Gardea. She'll be joining as well. So thank you guys for your referrals. I wish they were here so I could give them their $10 gift cards. So if you guys are watching on camera, you have to come to the meetings to get the gift cards. So thank you for your referrals. And then just a quick agent image, the agents who have joined since our last meeting. We've got Mary Lou Fox. She came back to Equity, really excited about that. Megan Sheik, some of you might remember her. She came back to Equity too. She took a brief hiatus to focus on teaching, and she's back in action. And then of course, Evelina, who we got to meet. Thanks for being here, Evelina. All right, guys, now we get into the good stuff. So I wanted to just quickly introduce Rachel and Amara. Got it right. Rachel and Amara with Arapahoe County Water Division. Who here has worked on a transaction with well and septic? Okay, that's a pretty good amount. These great people were referred to us by Katie Markman, and they're going to talk about well and septic today and kind of the county requirements for Arapahoe. Everything you need to know from how they work to what to consider as you're working through your transaction. What do you need before closing? So, Rachel, Amara, thank you for being here. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having us. Thanks, Katie, for recommending us. This is great. So my name's Amara, and this is my wonderful coworker, Rachel, and then our boss, Conrad, is here as well. So we're going to talk about the transfer of title process for a sale of a home on septic. All right, and we'll give you a little background on what we do and what a septic system is, just for some groundwork. So we permit installation, repair, use, and then transfer of title for all septic systems in Arapahoe County. We have the authority to do that through the Colorado Act, the Colorado regulation, and then our county regulation. And then here's just a list of some of the stuff we do, which is not all-encompassing. We are always busy doing crazy amounts of stuff, which I'm sure you all relate to. So we start the process by getting paperwork from a new owner or a seller. We review that paperwork, and then if it's a new installation, we'll go out to the site, look at the site, evaluate setbacks, landscaping, anything that might be a problem. We'll come back to the office, and then we type up the permit, issue the permit, and then we wait to get a call to go back out to look at the system in the ground. Once it's in the ground, we're verifying that everything was installed according to the design and in the appropriate way. So that's the bulk of our job is doing the inspection piece and the permitting piece. And then we also do complaints. We get some complaints about septic systems from the public. So we like to be available for any questions or, even just a chat about a septic system. And then we answer lots of questions about permitting and what a septic system is and what that kind of looks like. And then our main job is enforcing the regulation for the septic systems.
And so we're going to kind of briefly touch on some of these items, and this is kind of a condensed version of a longer presentation that you can get Realtor CEUs for. So we'll, there's a couple flyers floating around for that, but we'll also share that at the end. And before I really jump in, I just want to give a shout out to jumping into the Irish Sea. It's really cool. I'm an open water swimmer, so I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And those 40-degree temperatures, your head just hurts. So, when you're thinking about resilience, this is just kind of my rabbit trail. Check out Sarah Thomas. She's a local swimmer in Colorado, and she actually swam 4 times across the English Channel after being diagnosed and going through chemotherapy for breast cancer. So if you don't know about her yet, definitely check out her story. So let's jump back over to septic systems. Hopefully you're not jumping in these tanks because it's a confined space, but we have, for a on-site wastewater treatment system, these tanks where wastewater will go from the house. It'll settle out, so you'll have kind of those solids that'll sink to the bottom, and then fats, oils, and greases that'll float to the top. And that's the first step of our treatment train. The next step, we have, a way for that wastewater to get out to the field and to have even distribution. So these are some of the components that are a part of what we call a gravity system. So there's no electricity involved in this type of septic system. Another type of septic system has electrical components, and so, there's a filter to filter out some of the larger things before it gets to the pump. There's a control panel that also is helpful because it'll give an alarm if levels are too high in that septic tank. And then also another way of distributing that, what we call effluent or wastewater, out to the field. And then there's also systems that have a little bit more complexity. So these are higher level treatment systems, and they might involve a filter and different components, like maybe a sand filter over here. So these systems have 2 feet of sand underneath where the wastewater is distributed. And because they're more complicated, they involve a ongoing maintenance contract and touch points with the health department over the life of the system.
All right, so this is a list of the types of permits we issue. So new installation, which I talked about. Minor repairs is just replacing the tank. A major repair is either replacing the field or expanding it because maybe they added some new bedrooms. And then our use permit is a pretty wide category. So there's a list of things that we do there, but our focus is going to be the transfer of title piece. A use permit is in the name, so it basically just authorizes the use of the septic system, and it gives that responsibility over to the owner so that they are responsible. If anything happens, they are going to be the ones who need to fix it and repair it. Use permit inspection process starts with a use permit inspector. These are not, we don't license them at the county level, but we do make sure that they hold a valid certification, and that is through a national association, which we call NOT, National Association of Wastewater Technicians. So they take a class, and it requires continuing education to make sure that they are on top of the newest stuff. And then a piece of the use permit inspector are pumpers. So during an inspection, they will pump the septic tank, and that is someone we license because we want to make sure they're doing it right and doing it safely. We make sure that they are bringing that waste somewhere appropriate, like a wastewater treatment plant. And then we, of course, do not endorse any specific professional in any realm, but we do have a nice list of all of our licensed installers and cleaners on our website. We've got a lot of really good stuff on our website, so I would definitely recommend looking at that. And then we also have a link on the website to find an inspector through that NOT program. So the first piece of the use permit inspection is going to start at the tank, the beginning of that treatment train that Rachel mentioned. So when they look at that tank, they are checking to make sure it's still intact, and it's fully functioning, so there's no cracks, there's no degradation going on in there. And then they're also making sure that the internal components are working good. So T's, which basically slow the solids from messing up the tank. And then they'll pump the tank, and depending on what they're seeing in the tank, they might scope the line, which is what he's doing here with this red pipe. So he shoves a camera all the way up the pipe to the home to make sure it's flowing correctly. If there's a belly in the line, those solids might collect there and eventually make a backup into the home, and that's disgusting. The next piece, after the tank, so the effluent will flow from the tank to that distribution box Rachel was talking about. The use permit inspector is looking to make sure that that box is accessible. They need to be able to get in there to adjust these little yellow things. They're speed levelers, so they can control the flow of the effluent to each piece of the field and make sure nothing's getting too much water. And then for more complicated systems, this one is pressure, and so that one's pretty much just making sure it's working. After the distribution box, the effluent flows to the field, and that's the pretty big part of the septic system. So when they're looking at a field, they are assessing what is going on the surface level, because of course that's all we can see So we're seeing the amount of vegetation. In this picture, this is the soil treatment area, and all of these trees are right on top of it. That is not a good sign. That means something is going wrong. If trees and grass and all that stuff really like all the nutrients that come from a septic system, so when we see a ton of growth, that means that water is not going down the way it should, and that's a red flag. They are also checking to see if there's any irrigation over it. If the soil treatment area is receiving water from the top, it's not treating the water that's coming in as well, because it's got double the work really. So there should not be any sprinkler systems over a soil treatment area. And then finally, we're making sure that it's open grass like this. There's a driveway, a horse pen, a go pen, a basketball court. Those are all things we've seen. On top of the field, it's compacting that dirt. And when the dirt is normally like this and then it gets compacted to this, it's not treating the water as well. It's going way too fast through the system. And then another piece, when they're looking at the field, we've heard it called the stop and sniff test. So if they're walking around the field and they're smelling stuff, or the ground is a little squishy, that's not good. That's an indicator something is wrong. And in this picture, this is surfacing effluent, so that is sewage on the ground. And that means the soil underneath the field is no longer accepting that, and so it's pushing it back up. And that's what creates that smell, and I'm sure we all know what that smell is.
So with this transfer of title program, the benefit to the community is that it's helping inform buyers, right? So when you have a use permit inspection that's done before the sale of a home, you have more information about how that septic system is functioning, and it's that point in time, do things need to be addressed, or is it ready to go for the next homeowner? So at the end of the day, it's a point in time where we can see, is there an issue here? And can the septic infrastructure be updated? So it's a comprehensive evaluation by a third party who will come out and take a look and see, like Amara was talking about, the tank, different components. Is the field treating that wastewater before it returns to the groundwater? So when we look at when these use permits or transfer of title permits are required, they're required for the sale of any property that's on septic in Arapahoe County. When you're looking at other counties, a lot of the metro area has a transfer of title program, but it's an opt-in program from the state. So our Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, they actually have a map of all the counties in Colorado that have opted into this program, which requires that a use permit inspection is completed, paperwork submitted to the health department, and then a transfer of title permit issued before closing of the sale on septic. There's also a few other situations that require a use permit. So you're adding in additional bedrooms, changing from residential to commercial property, adding a modular home, or other different items, then you'd also need that use permit inspection to go through that process. So who's responsible for this? Before the closing, the owner or seller is responsible for obtaining a transfer of title permit. After closing, it then becomes the buyer's responsibility. And then in those other scenarios, the owner of the home or property is responsible to obtain the use permit. So like Amara is talking about, having that third-party inspector come out, inspect the system. They're typically with NOT. It can be an approved equivalent of a thing, but it has to be approved by us. So if you're finding someone who doesn't have that NOT certification but something else, check with us to make sure that it's approved. And then that use permit inspection is valid for 12 months. And so you can obtain that before you get into listing the house or whatnot. And then you'd submit all the required paperwork to us. We do have an online portal that makes it pretty straightforward because you can apply and pay for the permit. It's only like $85 at this time. And then we would start processing it. Plan for like 2 business days of review. That just allows us to input the information into our system, take a look. Amara's going to dig into our records, see what's going on there. So if you're closing on a Friday, submit it earlier than Friday morning because Fridays are already, bananas. So plan ahead. And another thing that we'll reiterate later is if you have a home on septic sale that's upcoming, maybe get this use permit inspection done way ahead of time so that if there's anything that needs to be fixed, like a tank replacement or something, you can get rolling on that before you're under contract for a home.
And Rachel, can I just say one more thing too?
Yeah.
That's probably the number one call we get when there's a septic situation in a transaction is, what should I be aware of? When you're on the listing side, great advice. If you're on the listing side and you know there's septic, pull up the county website because these requirements vary slightly between each county. And proactively look into that process so you're not prolonging the transaction, trying to figure things out while dates and deadlines are ticking down. And then when you're on the buy side, make sure you pad those inspection deadlines so you have plenty of time to include the septic inspection process through those regular inspection milestones. Because then you can negotiate if there's something that needs to be negotiated upon. So I just wanted to add to that quickly because that's kind of when you guys reach out to Greg and I on the support lines. It's right there.
How long does the whole process take if you just stay on it?
So it really, like on our end, when we receive paperwork, it's pretty streamlined, and we want that 2 business days because we have a team of people. We have other people who are inputting information, and then we're reviewing it. So if everything is in line with our regulations, it's really straightforward process. We add our permit comments, we send you the use permit. If there's something where it doesn't, like there's something lacking or an issue or like the tank needs to be replaced, we can't issue that use permit until everything lines up. And we do have a couple agreements that the buyer can sign, and we'll get to those in a little bit, because we do know that sometimes it's down to the crunch and you're trying to get things rolling. So yeah, so I'd say roundabout way of saying we try and get it done as quickly as possible, but sometimes we're not always the rate determining step.
So if we know there's septic and we have the buyer, the normal inspector is not gonna look at any of this. We need one of the non-inspectors, inspectors to come out and take a peek.
Yeah, so you need a third-party inspector, and it's always good to call them ahead of time because in the summer,
It could be busy.
it could be really busy. So they might not have something this week, they might have something the next week. So it's important to kind of get everything lined up in advance so that you're not down to the wire on your closing.
But that's so much fun.
Like to live dangerously.
Right.
Okay, so this is our septic search site, as we alluded to. This is on our website. It's a really cool resource. So you can type in any address in our county, and it will pull up the records that we have. So these are little septic tanks representing the records we have for that particular address. And all of this paperwork is public information. So if you're searching a website and an address isn't coming up, but you know it is on septic, please reach out to us. We might have some hard files that just haven't made it online yet, and we're more than happy to scan those in for you. And another great piece of this is you can look at that paperwork from when it was installed to where it's at currently. You can see how many bedrooms it's designed for, and then it's less of a surprise when you go to talk to your clients about it. All right, so this is our this is our meat and potatoes. Why does it matter how many bedrooms the septic system is designed for? The design is based off the number of bedrooms and the type of soil that is found in the lot. So if the home has 2 bedrooms, we assume that there's a max occupancy of 4 people and a set amount, give or take, of gallons that they would use per day. If it's a 6-bedroom home, we assume that there would be a max occupancy of 10 people in that home. If your home is 6 bedrooms, but your septic system is designed for 2, then that's obviously a problem. You're using way more water than the system can treat. And that is where problems like surface effluent comes in. And then another piece of that is the dirt, the type of soil that's there, but that's a little bit more in the front end. So let's say that situation happens to you. The home was designed on 3 bedrooms and had an unfinished basement, and then it sold. The next buyer finished the basement and added a few bedrooms without asking us. They should reach out to us, but that doesn't always happen. And then we catch it the next time they go to sell that home. So it was 3 bedrooms and now it's 5. We do have some options. We're not, our intention isn't to make a sell fall through or, hold anything up. We appreciate this program and we want to make it as, seamless as possible. So we do have a few options. The first option and the best option is that the seller fixes the septic system to be up to regulation, to be big enough for that home. Sometimes that takes time and money, and that can't happen in the time frame. So we have an agreement to forego expansion, which the buyer can sign. It's a notarized document, and the buyer is basically acknowledging that the septic system is undersized, and they assume any responsibility if it fails. So they will be on the hook to fix that system. And that agreement pretty much just covers that caveat.
Yeah, and all of the documents, like the agreement to forego expansion, and then this next one we're going to talk about, agreement to repair a septic system, are on our website, so you can take a look at those in advance. And then, so if there's any issues with the system, let's say there's not an inlet T or an outlet T, so those T's within the septic tank itself, and they need to be fixed, then a licensed installer with Arapahoe County Public Health will need to fix those components. And so if it's a small little fix, like replacing a T, they'll just fill out a repair verification form. If it's more complicated of a fix, then a repair permit will be required, and so they'll the installer or sometimes the homeowner will apply for that repair permit with Arapahoe County Public Health. We'll issue that repair permit, tank will get installed. We'll go out and do an inspection, make sure it's installed in line with our regulations, and then we would issue a repair approval. You bring that, get your use permit, and things go on. So, and we do also have a guide on our website for use permit inspection, so you can see, okay, which things require a repair versus things that we would just know on the use permit. So definitely check out our website for licensed installers or cleaners. If you're looking at the sale of a home on septic in a different county, check out their septic system website. Usually what I type in is like Douglas County OWTS and find all the stuff for them. And then another kind of situation that's outside of the norm is when we would issue a conditional use permit. So in our regulations, this is kind of like a waiver. And you still need a use permit, but it's acknowledging that sometimes like if they're surfacing effluent, the field needs to be replaced, then that might take a little bit longer to get that larger repair permit. And so, because there's engineering involved and whatnot. And so if the buyer signs an agreement to repair and we receive all the documentation, then we would issue a conditional use permit. And so that kind of gives a little bit of time for the closing to happen, and then for the septic system to be replaced. But it's a pretty tight time frame, so I think within 2 days of closing they have to apply for a permit, and then within 30 days of closing or occupancy of the home, whichever is later, it needs to be fixed. So with these, what these involve is Amar and I follow up pretty regularly with whomever has bought the house to make sure that the septic system gets fixed. So a few resources, check out Arapahoe County's septic site. And then we also have a way to apply for permits online. We have 2 offices. One is like a mile and a half away from here. And then the other one is Colfax and Chambers, and that's where Amar and I are housed out of. Though we do a lot of field work, so we're not often at our desk. Again, that not inspector list. And then we didn't touch on it too much today, but the Division of Water Resources at the state level is where you would look for well permits. So if you haven't explored that site, definitely check it out. And then if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to email us at water@arapahoegov.com. So that's a really straightforward way to get either of us. You can even be like, hey, I have a question, would you please call me back? And we'll follow up that way too. And then the last thing that I wanted to share is we do have this presentation in an hour-long format that we have certified with DORA, and so we can give you a CEU for attendance of that. And we have an in-person course August 5th, and then a webinar August 7th. And there's some flyers floating around so you can sign up with the QR code on that flyer. So, questions, concerns? Yes, sir.
So, hypothetically, if I'm a buyer, I buy a property, I've got the permit and everything, do you have any ongoing things? Do I have to inspect after 5 years, after 10 years, or is it as long as I own the property, I'm good?
Yeah, so in our regulations, I think it calls out that every 4 years to get your septic tank pumped. But that's kind of, when we talk to pumpers and cleaners, it depends on the usage. So like if someone is running their garbage disposal 24/7 and breaking up all the food so it's suspended, that tank will need to be pumped more often than if they're not using a garbage disposal. Or if you're not using your system as hard, then you may not need to. But if you're like pouring your bacon grease down the sink every week and
It's a bad idea.
yeah, just don't do that. But so if you're using it harder, then you might need to get it pumped more often. And then with our regulations, I think it's so they have this thing, it's called a sludge judge. So they put it in the tank to find out how much sludge there is, how much fats, oils, and greases there are. And with our regulations, if it's more than 25% of the tank, I believe, then it should get pumped. And if you have more complicated components like electrical components or a higher level treatment system, then having a operations and maintenance person come out and check on it more often is a good idea. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a way, like as an agent, when we're going to a property, as a septic system, to see like are the leach fields or anything marked, or like where the tank is marked?
Yeah,
or is
so
there an easy way to figure out where it is on the property before you look at the map?
Yeah. So yeah, aside from the map, when you're looking at a home, most of the tanks should be up to grade. So they're usually green or concrete lids.
So it's like a big sprinkler bell box.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Just big circle lids. They might be close to the home, they might be far from the home, so you might be looking. But those are kind of a sign, and then also the actual field should have observation ports. So they're either white or green pipes sticking up. Those things at the end,
Okay.
and those are kind of are on the ends of the soil treatment area. So if you see those, that's an indicator.
That's
as
your
well.
don't build here.
Yeah, don't put anything on there. Exactly.
Got it. Thank you.
What other questions you all have?
Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Please reach out with any questions. We love to talk to y'all. And yeah, we've got some stuff. We've left some cards. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. That was really helpful. Greg, or maybe Katie, are there any other septic transactional items that you think would be beneficial? Anything else we want to contribute to the conversation of it?
I think just there's a clause, there's a Fresno clause that's in CTM.
Yeah.
That can be added to the contract with getting some of this information up front with your due diligence afterwards.
Yeah.
I think that's a real helpful tool.
That's great.
She was called. I think one of the names.
Due diligence ops, something. Try to remember.
Yeah, it's pretty identifiable. Well,
it's
septic
well,
due diligence.
I'll just put Fresno for well septic.
Yeah, and to Greg's point real quick, Katie, is that clause is really helpful because it clearly outlines when the seller has to provide all of the stuff that they just ran through. An inspection report if it's in their possession, use permits. You get to establish how long you want, how many days pass before that seller is required to provide those to your buyer. Doug.
We'll run into where the buyer doesn't really trust your inspector because you can hire any of these. So I sometimes wait and say, do you have someone you want us to use to do this inspection so that I don't have to do the inspection twice with two different opinions.
That's great.
So that's what I did on ours. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Great advice. Yeah, great guidance there. That's good. Real quick, Katie, I know you were next.
The one thing that I have seen most often in the past is that the sellers, especially if they've lived there a while, may not know that the septic system that they have can only accommodate a certain number of bedrooms. And when they go to sell, they think everything's fine, and then if the county records indicate that the home actually has, in Amara's example, 5 bedrooms, then the entire septic tank may need to be replaced. And it could be a matter of neither the buyer nor the seller is aware of all that, or that bedrooms have been added, or that maybe it wasn't checked in the first place, or whatever. So I think that the number of bedrooms is a major issue. I can't.
Yeah, great points. Great points. Stephanie, I think you had a question.
Yeah, on my listings, I always have the seller when we talk about this right up front, and I like to have it because we have gear. Have it pumped and certified and get my cert in place. If it's already been inspected, pumped, and certified, and I have my well use permit, why would the buyer need to do another inspection?
So if the seller has already done all that work, then that's all we require to issue that use permit.
And the description's always on there, any repairs that need to be done is on there. So I just don't understand why a buyer would come in and do.
Yeah, so yeah, similar to his point, if maybe there's hope. I mean, we really hope this doesn't happen. We really trust our inspectors and we work well with them. So we value their opinion, and honestly, most of the time they really are straightforward and upfront. Each inspector should be seeing the same things and reporting the same things to us. So when we issue that use permit, if we see something on there, we will make a comment, like if there's a belly in the line, we'll note that and we'll say monitor that during future maintenance. If your buyer isn't trusting that for some reason, you can hire another inspector and go through the process again. But you don't necessarily have to get the permit again. You could just get the inspection, and evaluate if that is showing the same information that the seller paid for. And then, pause there.
I always make sure if I'm on the buy side, I want to see that, and I want to know that those repairs on that report have been done with receipts.
Yeah.
Just to avoid
And-
another inspection.
Right, and that is something we note too. If we get that repair verification form Rachel was talking about, we put that on the use permit. So we'll say, we received a repair verification form stating such and such repaired such and such. So then it's clear. If you're not getting those documents, it's right on the permit. That is helpful to know though. I didn't know that the seller was required to provide those documents to the buyer.
Well, they're not required unless you put some sort of verbiage into the contract.
Okay.
And that's a good way to make sure everybody plays nice in that
Yeah.
long, drawn-out process.
Very good to know.
Because we've been, a week before closing, Greg, on a couple of questions where, we needed to do what for the septic?
Yeah.
And it's hard. Then you're pushing closing dates and all kinds of stuff.
You don't have to, but Paul, we can't close without it, correct?
Yeah, that's the other thing is
You cannot
title.
close, and I always tell all my sellers, we don't sell food.
Yeah.
It's gotta be clear.
Pretty much.
Well, and that's why we wanted you guys here today, so you know of the basics to watch out for. And it all comes down to good communication. Sometimes you encounter a listing agent who this is their first listing with septic, and if you guys have this knowledge on the buy side, you can kind of be helpful. Hey, listing agent, have you done X, Y, and Z to make sure we're moving forward? And then I just boiled it down. Great information on septic systems and how they use. But the 3 takeaways, just to keep it simple for you guys today: extend your inspection deadlines to allow proper inspection of the well and septic, whether your buyer is hiring an independent inspector or maybe your buyer is satisfied with the inspection that the seller provided in their due diligence process. Number 2, Greg's point, add the Frascona well and septic clause to additional provisions, and then check the county website for specific inspection and use permit requirements. They're, for the most part, pretty similar, it kind of seems like, but there are different deadlines and different permits, so check each county's website independently. I think Rachel mentioned that. Sunny.
I never did a well permit before, but the septic I did. So well permit we need the permitted well.
So we don't do that. So the information I have on that is just stuff I've picked up from realtors. So it's the Division of Water Resources at the state level who does that. There is, if you just type in Division of Water Resources well permitting, their website comes up with a link how to transfer that well to the new buyer.
Yeah, and I think your title company gets involved in that process for the well.
Yeah, and it's good to search for that well permit number. If you don't get it from the listing agent, jump on that website, pull it up, and it'll actually give you some really good, useful information about that well permit. Like if it doesn't match the seller's name, maybe there's an issue that needs to be re-recorded. And I think you obviously need it for the contract to buy and sell, so that's a great time to just do a little bit of due diligence there. But again, you want to pad those inspection deadlines so that the buyer can do water and well tests. They want to maybe see what that water's doing and add any chemicals needed to clean it if they need to.
And I think that depending on whomever the buyer has for a loan, like the VA requires more for a well inspection before closing than other lenders.
Yeah, that might be something Amir can speak to.
Yeah, FHA and VA both, especially VA, are gonna potentially flag something.
Okay. Any other questions on the well and septic? All right. Yeah, thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it. So we're gonna keep this short, but I know you guys are feeling the longer days on market. I guess to get a feel for it, how many have had a listing that's been sitting for more than 20 days? Right? 30 days. 40 days. 50 days. 60 days. 70. 80. You're not a loser. You're not a loser. That's not the point of this exercise. It's not the point of this exercise. My point is, I get these calls. Truly, this is a call I get probably 4 or 5 times a week. I'm freaking out because my listing hasn't sold. And the big 15-minute point of the conversation is let's analyze your listing. We're going to talk about some things that you can look at to make sure you're where you should be and that you're providing updates to your seller that take the heat off of you. That's another part of this conversation. But I wanted you guys to see that it's just what the market's doing. And some insight. If the home is priced really competitively, that's the first factor that we're going to dive into most. If the condition and the way that the property shows is perfect, and then lastly, if it's in a desirable neighborhood, those are the homes that are going under contract in one weekend. And I think it was David. There are multiple offer scenarios out there, $100,000 over asking price. So the market is strange right now in that you've got these homes that are moving really quickly, but then you've got some that are just sitting really, really long. And how do we overcome that? How do we get past it, whether it's a new listing or an existing listing? Quick market stats. I know you guys study the stats, so I won't spend too much time on this, but I do want you to see year over year, inventory increases, pending sales increases, closed sales increases, median prices slightly up, and almost double the supply. Almost double the supply. That's one factor that is making buyers sit a little bit. There's so many options for them right now. The stat that I wanted you to see, May to June. So May, you guys were busy. The hotline was booming and you guys had a lot of business and things were happening. We had 6,515 listings in May. And then in June, it decreased a little bit, 5,474. Median days on market, I like that number, but I like to look at the average days on market too. But median is really helpful in that in May, the median, that's the middle number. I think we joked about that last time back to third grade math. Median was 14 days on market. And then in June, it increased to 19. So it does show that little indicator. But the average day on market ranges from 40 to 55 days right now, depending on where you're at. So that's long. You guys aren't used to that. You're becoming used to it. And I think back to the many sales meetings that we've done over the years where Todd and Stacy, they'd always say, I remember when we'd take listings and they'd sit for 6 months to a year or even longer. And so part of this conversation is you just have to study the data, the market data, and really look at your listings objectively, which we're going to get into, and provide updates that are backed by market data to your sellers. That's the best thing you can do. Questions or thoughts so far in this? Beth?
The loser can speak.
You're not a loser. You got to throw that vocabulary out.
I know. It's just he purchased this place 2 years ago. Prices were high, and he has no money. So the option is short sale, foreclosure, or there's no money. You can't keep lowering it.
Yeah.
So every month we lower according to his payments.
Yeah.
But it's tough. And we are the prettiest out there. We have pretty photos. We have, because he does have a good agent.
Yeah, he does.
I can't take away photos on him.
Yeah.
And I'm not ready to advise him to short sale. Not yet.
Yeah, keep
He
trying.
still has a good place and a good rate, so it's difficult. Appraisal is our assumption is the next one to go, because they can get that loan soon. But we're not banging that drum loud enough because the lenders aren't helping. It's a good option. Assumptions are a great option, and I'm surprised we're not doing them more because there are a lot of homes out there that were purchased in this 2-3 year. So there's no money that would have to hardly be brought to closing.
Yeah.
And they can have a rate.
And we've seen a handful of them, but they're difficult. I've yet to see, I think I've seen maybe 2 assumption transactions make it to the closing table. Just because there's a lot of complications with them. Not to say that they don't work. But Beth,
But why are they
I couldn't even
disagree. I'm not arguing with you into that.
No, yeah.
I think they can be done.
They can be done, for sure.
I think we have to educate. Why aren't we doing this? Can we have some classes on that? I mean, we need help.
Amir, you taking notes?
Sure.
Yeah, and I couldn't even articulate all the things from the lending perspective, but it's complicated. Aaron, you might have some.
I did an assumption for a client that bought a VA house, a VA loan. He's not VA, and they gave up their entitlement to sell the house, but he bought it as an investment, and the rate was 2.75. And yeah, he had put, it was $675,000. He ended up putting $70,000 down. But go find an investment property with 10% down and 3% rate, and it took 4 months to close. Okay, so there are, I mean, and the reason was everything had to be wet signed, but that was one of the longer ones. I know that there are banks that can do it much faster now, so it is doable if everything's set up right. But yeah, it's a long. It can be a long process, but it's
The
worth
VA
it.
just changed it to 45.
Oh, there you go.
They
VA
have to.
requires 45. I did one in September. Last year, they closed it about 45 days.
That's good. Yeah, there's
VA assumption. It was to a VA buyer. Borrower was the veteran that sold to lose their loans.
So they work. And noted, we will get some assumption classes scheduled to help with that. But yeah, I think people just don't understand them a lot of the times, and the timelines for a buyer or a seller can be tight.
I think the seller has to do some things up front, you know, to make sure it's prepared, you know, what they're getting into and communicate with the lender, educating them. But this was to Rocket. At that point, Rocket didn't have a clue what to do. We had to educate them on the new rules with the VA and so forth.
I see. Yeah. So yeah, I think as part of this conversation, I wanted to have a review conversation with you guys about what are the things that contribute to the longer days on market. And I know a lot of this will be a review for you guys, for a lot of you, but these are the things that you're calling me with, and we have to break it down. So I think it's good for everybody to see it again. So key factors correlated with days on market. There's a ton, but I boiled it down to 6 things. Price, that's the number one thing that you guys can control. And finding that sweet spot between how low can we go to get this done where it actually makes sense for my seller. We're going to come back to price. Condition and presentation. If it's not a pristine home, buyers are being super selective right now. You guys know that because if they're going to go take out a loan at a nearly 7% interest rate, that home needs to be perfect. So condition and presentation really matter right now. We're going to evolve on that a little bit. And then location. You can't pick up a house and move it to another neighborhood. So you have to have a realistic conversation with your seller that if it's not the most desirable location, you've got to price it accordingly right now. I think so that's a big talking point with this too. And then lastly, financing options, interest rates, we can't quite control. I mean, there's things we can do like concessions and stuff, but that's a contributing factor. Seasonal market trends. I feel like this summer a lot more people are traveling than in previous summers. And I think that might also be contributing to why it's so slow, why the showings have been down, why the offers have been down. People are out of town. And then political, economical events, and the state of the world. Buyers are just kind of freaked out. We all get on Facebook and we scroll and we see all these headlines, regardless of your political affiliations, and you're like, the world just kind of seems strange right now, and I'm just going to sit still. And that's where you tell your clients, turn the news off. You don't have to listen to the news all the time. It's good to stay informed, but that goes for you guys too. I get in my own cycles and I look at these real estate groups that I follow and like the things that people are posting. I'm like, just go get out there and talk to people and educate and know what's going on, but put the blinders on a little bit. So I think we'll do a deeper class on this because we're running out of time, but I do want to cover the basic talking points that I review with you guys when you call the support line. And the number one thing is price. And I'm bringing this up because I've heard several of you, I don't think anybody in this room, but several agents who have called 4 weeks into their listing, it's sitting, and they go, Paul, I knew I shouldn't have given my seller that flexibility. They wanted to list slightly higher than what I told them we should list at. And sure enough, we're doing a price reduction. And my response is, why did you let them do that? You are the professional. You've got the data and the market knowledge. And I think it's this mix between we want the listing and we want to listen to our sellers and we don't want to undersell. But that's probably the number one problem right now is we let the seller's opinion on price kind of supersede our own data-driven opinions and understandings of the market, and you guys price it a little high, and then in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, you're doing those price reductions. Are you guys getting our weekly updates? I always have to ask that from time to time. We run some good stuff in there. So the wave, this is a thing that we've talked about constantly. The wave is a graph that represents activity and weeks on market. And it's a nice reminder why price matters, because in the first week to week and a half, that's when buyers' interests are highest. It's piranhas in a water. There's a new listing, let's get it, and they go. And if the price isn't right, that's way too high. And then what happens? You enter the dead zone. After that 2-week increment passes, you've lost all those buyers that are seeing your listing for the first time. And then this is the dead zone. That's when you don't get any showings, you don't get any offers. But if you price aggressively at the start, that's when you should be. I wish Joyce was here. Joyce Hatchett was planning on being here, and she just had a listing that went under contract in 1 weekend. And we talked through it. It was because she looked at all the active listings, primarily in pricing her home. How does your listing compare to the other active listings? And if you had $600,000 to buy a house, what would you go spend on the options that are available to you? And you want to kind of be below that right now to actually get a buyer off the fence to write an offer, because they're just being so particular. They're just stuck. So if you have that conversation with your seller where they're like, I think my home's worth X amount more, and you kind of have to reel them in, don't be afraid to reel them in. That they need you guys to provide that honesty and that knowledge that you bring to the table. Jill.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
So I've been doing these reports that are kind of showcasing that same thing, but it's real specific to that neighborhood. But the other interesting point that goes along with that is that these properties that are priced right, that go under contract quickly, they also aren't doing concessions. The longer that property stays on the market, now their need to offer concessions increases, and the offer that they're getting is going down. So their ultimate net, which is helpful to kind of show, like, you sell in the first 2 weeks, here's your net. If you sell after this, here's likely statistically what is going to happen to your net. And so then, show them, well, which bucket do you want to land in? And so ultimately, you want to be in the bucket where you're netting the most money, and so that can sometimes be a helpful visual.
That's great. And we need to get you back to that AI class, because everybody who took that class walked out of there, they loved it. Jill showcases tools that you can use that are right here in this conversation to paint an accurate picture for your seller. And that's what you have to do in these moments where you're 6 months on the market. You have to be unwavering and provide those updates to your seller. Maybe we can get that scheduled in the fall again.
I'm working on getting it approved for CE.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Convince Dora that it's a benefit to buyers and sellers.
Huge benefit.
We're working on it.
Huge benefit. Doug.
Can I get you to do a script so I'll be the seller?
Yeah.
So
Oh gosh, you're putting me in the hot seat?
Yeah.
Bring it.
I have to have 1.2 million. I need 1.2 million.
Net? You need to net 1.2 million?
Well, based on our net, I need to get the price has to be 1.2 million. I need that amount of money for what I want to do.
What area are you in? What's the conditions of your house? What are you? I'm kidding, but I mean the quick answer is we need to find that balance between what's the lowest you can go to make this work, because the market is interesting right now, and if you need to net 1.2 million, we need to price it accordingly. And is your house worth that?
And what if it's not? This is where I run into it, where I say, what you need is not impacted by the market.
Yeah. So
what the market's willing to pay, it doesn't care what you need, but I need to say that in a nice way.
Yeah. So in my recap, I will provide you guys with Buffini's script on that. In the CFSP course, he has a great script, and I'm paraphrasing from it. But it's something along the lines of, look, I know you love your house, you put a lot of work in this, and I'm not discrediting that. But my job is to be the local expert, and I'm required to know the numbers, and I need to know the numbers for what the buyer thinks the home is worth. That's what the market is how much a buyer is willing to pay for a house. That's market value. And I can see why you think it's at 1.2, but the comp data, here it is. I've made a report for you. it shows that we're more in the 999, 980. You just have to give it to them straight, and you have to find the confidence to be able to do that. And I can think of so many agents who are in that conversation, and then they listen to their seller and they list it at 1.3, and then a month later they're doing a price reduction right to that 990 that they.
No, they actually terminate realtor, hurrying the number.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that too.
And saying, finally, I have a good realtor.
Yeah.
This is how it works these days.
So people need our realistic expertise on the market. But let me send you that Buffini dialogue because I just spitball. I just pulled from it. It's much more precise on how to have that conversation. But does that at least give you something?
I know what I'm going to say. Is that I wanted to, it helps to say it nicer because I tend to want to I want to just be like,
You're not even close. You're not going to get 1.2.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
I'm saying like this, like, yes, we can try. However, we will not sell for this price. We will lose time. And then psychological factor on the buyers that will think something wrong with the house, and we will lose time, and we will go down on the price, but we will have difficult time now to prove that nothing wrong with the house. Period. And they're like, oh yeah, she's right. If we will be on the market for 2-3 months, there is something wrong with the house.
And pull the comps. There are comps that you could literally just show. Look, here's an example.
Care about comps.
But if you show them, this house is very similar to yours, they priced it at X, and look at the price reductions, and they're still sitting. That's what we're trying to avoid. Good points.
And of course, they get in and they don't sell it.
Yeah.
Typically, Tony's meeting yesterday was saying about 24 months, and the market shifts in the past 50 years.
Yeah.
So we're already through it.
Yeah.
A year. It will shift.
I think it will. I think fall is going to be busy. But got to keep moving just because I want to get these thoughts out to you. So price, that's the number one thing you can control. The second thing that you can control the most is the condition and the presentation. And a lot of you, I already know you understand this, but I think I need to go on record in saying it, that the fine details matter right now. Your pictures need to be flawless. The home needs to be clean, and I'm talking light switches, baseboards. A buyer is looking at a home very critically, and we want to eliminate the number of reasons that they can find something to go, ooh, I don't want that. So you have to think about these details because so many of us, I think we're used to still the COVID days where you just put the listing on the market and you don't have to really do much, and then you've got 5 offers. You have to have the details in place. So condition, if you want to take a screenshot, condition is where you guide the seller. You know this, but we need to talk about it because we also look at this when you call in. Fresh paint, deep clean, cost-efficient upgrades, curb appeal and landscaping, bright and inviting, declutter and depersonalize. You have to portray a home that a buyer can envision themselves living in. And you have to have that conversation with your seller. And I previewed a couple listings where I was actually surprised that the listing in person was much better than what the listing, MLS listing and pictures portrayed. And I'm like, that's an easy thing that might have prevented the days on market because think of how many showings you might have missed out on because everything wasn't pristine. And there's a wide variety of reasons. I need to get it listed by today because I've got something else going on. You are the professionals. Take your time and set the pace and get it right. Presentation on your side, make it shine. That's kind of your area. Professional photos, no exceptions. No cell phone pictures. Please. Please. Virtual tour and walkthrough. This is another thing that I'm seeing with the agents who call in with this question. There's no methodical order to their pictures. They've got the front door, then it's the backyard, then it's the basement, then it's the bedroom, and you need to paint a picture. It all starts with the MLS listing. Be methodical about, here's a drone shot, here's the front door, here's the entryway, turn to the left, there's the living room, there's the kitchen. Take some time with the order of those photos. Or even do a virtual tour where it's a video tour. That's great. You guys have seen those.
And the Cubic Casa floor plans help a lot.
Yeah. Those are which they spoke at our last sales meeting. That's a free tool in RE Colorado where you can generate a floor plan. Kubicasa. I always mess the name of that up.
It's awesome.
And then are you accurately portraying the property? Kind of back to that story of your MLS listing is what should be getting people through the door. It shouldn't be the other way around. Like I saw this listing and I was like, this is probably gonna be fun to look at. And then I like walked in, I'm like, what? This is awesome. This is cool. This is great. Look at this, all these features that are not specifically shown. Now is the time where you really have to think about that kind of stuff. Staging as needed, meticulous MLS data entry and descriptions. People are watching you so closely, and if you've got typos or misinformation, the buyer's agent's probably going to be like, really just puts a bad taste in people's mouths. So make sure that stuff's good. And then share clean social links. Share your Bold Trail CRM listing link. Don't share Zillow. Don't share Redfin. Don't share MLS. Share Bold Trail, because anybody who clicks and plays with that, you get those leads and you can see those impressions. So I think there's videos. I've hammered that. And then location, I already said it. You can't pick up the house and move it to another neighborhood, probably. So you have to spend time on those first two areas that we talked about. Get the price right, get it competitive, and do everything you can to make that listing shine when it comes to conditioning and remodels. The last couple things, I'm going to breeze through this. We do have a listing audit worksheet. I'm plugging the weekly update again just because I want you guys to read it. Allie spends so much time on it. We spend so much time on it. Brianna spends so much time on it. But we did a listing audit worksheet. It's a great exercise for you to see your listing without bias through a series of questions where you give yourself points, and you try to achieve a score. And that will give you the unbiased look at where you're at with your listing and what you could possibly change to breathe new life into it. This is also a great exercise to show your sellers when you're in that hot seat. Aaron, dude, it's been 90 days. Why isn't my house selling? It's the market. I'll show you the data. And also, let's sit down and do this worksheet together so you can see we're right on the money. We're just in a market that's taking a little bit longer right now. So just to show you quickly, I'm not going to go through it, but it's really comprehensive. And this will be in Elevate. It'll be in our recap. Diagnostic questions. Is the listing price 2% of most recent sold comps? And are comps within 7% plus or minus of the subject's square footage? Has buyer behavior feedback confirmed that the price is compelling? Is the home price with strategic search brackets? $399 versus $403. Little things like that. I mean, this thing's 10 pages long, so we don't have to go through it all, but you can see it's extensive and it's a good deep dive to see if there's anything else that you can do to get some movement on your listing. Katie.
Can I add one item? As listing agents, I think maybe this is obvious and goes without saying, but know your property. I had a buyer recently, and the listing agent had to be present at all the showings, and every question I asked, where was the leach field, where's the wellhead, everything I asked, the listing agent could not answer one of my questions. And the house ended up sitting on the market longer than it should have. It did sell, but it's amazing to me that a listing agent, if it was a high-end property, wouldn't know wouldn't be able to answer basic questions like that. So just if you don't know the answer when you first get the listing, find out before it goes in the MLS so that you can appear to be knowledgeable with regard to your property.
Yeah, great point. A lot of agents out there are listing some homes they shouldn't be listing. So to wrap all this up, price is the number one factor. That's usually what happens when we get to the long end of this 20-minute conversation. Your pictures are great. It shows well. You're in a good location. The number one thing you can do to get the house to move is lower that price, unless you have other circumstances working against you. That's where number 3 comes in, patience. It's the number 3 factor in getting the property sold is if you can't go any lower in price, all you can do is sit and be patient. And I skipped one, condition and presentation. Watch those intricate details, make sure you're doing everything in your power that you can control to make that listing pop. Provide frequent updates. And then the last piece, I'm over the time here, we're already supposed to be out of here, but consider withdrawing or expiring the listing as a last resort. And follow the MLS rules and regulations on both options. The biggest takeaway there, withdrawing the listing, days on market keeps counting. But that at least allows you to pull the listing from the market, maybe do some new paint, some upgrades. And the idea here is new buyers have now come to the market 2 or 3 weeks from when you pulled it. That listing's not showing up in any of the search results. And then when you go back to active, all those new buyers now see your listing, and it kind of invigorates that wave graph where you get more buyer interest and can get it sold. The other distinction, and I'm going on record, I know you guys might know this, expiring the listing is a little more complicated, but that does reset the days on market with RE Colorado. And in order for you to do it, you have to actually expire your listing agreement, terminate your listing agreement with your seller, and RE Colorado will request documentation for that. I've caught them twice asking agents who are trying to skirt the system, show us that your listing agreement actually terminated. Then you re-enter into a listing agreement again with your seller, and you have to wait 30 days to re-enter that listing into that MLS. That's in place so that people aren't trying to reset the days on market sneakily. They want to make sure that you're doing it by the books. So if your seller has time, that's another great strategy is you wait a month, bring it to the market again with new pictures, new updates, more aggressive price, and that should be the catalyst to get it going.
I've been having trouble getting feedback from agents on showings. Is that just me, or is that a general thing these days?
General thing?
General.
Yeah.
Out of 9 showings, you had 1 person give us feedback. And I asked multiple times.
That's all you can do is just keep asking. I need some feedback.
So it's not just me.
Not just you.
Okay.
Tale as old as time. Questions? Anything else in that conversation?
I wanted to know, do you see a lot of concessions to be put when you advertise your listing, you know, with the section information for the agents, you know, because the way the market is right now, it seems like, you know, maybe that's the way to do it, not necessarily lower the price, which, you know, I think a lot of buyers are kind of looking, you know, low price, but then they also want the concessions because they know it's becoming buyer's market, so I just kind of curious, you know, those items.
We do see that
Yes.
a lot.
Okay.
So back to Doug's point, if they have to net a certain amount, you have to price it accordingly where that concession will still make sense, so you're not dipping into what they need as their net. But if you can't go any lower with the price, but you do have some room to add a concession as an incentive, that is a nice way to combat those interest rates. And you can promote it in the MLS too if you wanted to. But that's something you strategize with your seller and make sure they want to do that. So, hang in there. It's a unique market, but stay resilient, stay strong. Just make sure you're doing everything in your power that you can control and try to leave all the other items that you can't control. Push those to the side because they just eat away at us. That's not where we want to be. So, all right, guys, we're 5 over. Quick announcements. I have to plug exclusive equity webinar with Buffini and Company. So the head coach, senior trainer and business coach at Buffini, Dave McGee, he's doing a class for equity agents. It's called Do You Want to Close 5 More Deals This Year? Dave McGee is awesome. He actually facilitated a manager Buffini class that I got to take and actually got to know him pretty well over that 12-week period. So that's a great way to push and end the year. That's going to be on August 6th at 10 a.m. via Zoom. It's on our calendar. It's in the weekly update. It's on our Facebook group. Definitely attend that one because Dave McGee isn't cheap and they got him to do it. So he's kind of high profile in the Buffini and Company. And then the last thing, a couple of you guys do access the office on Saturdays, and our new building management just made the decision to close the doors on Saturdays. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. You can get in with an access card, which they're $10. All you have to do is email Allie if you want one. But I would hate to get that call, hey, Paul, I'm at the office, I can't get in. It's because they just started closing it on Saturdays. So. All right, guys, Power Pros, and then I'll let you get out of here. So Power Professionals, 2 or more transactions in a month. And I wanted to quickly show you our May Power Professionals because we didn't get to acknowledge them at our last sales meeting because these sales meetings are every other month. But congratulations to our May. I think David Diaz Sanchez is here. Who else is here? Carrie, Carol, Doug, and Darcy. Good job. Brady. Who else? I think that's everybody that's here. Am I missing anybody? Caitlin Tran right in front of me. Congrats, Caitlin. Yeah. And then our June, last month's Power Professionals. Good list. Some new faces in this list. We've got Nicole Sufal, Kevin Barunda, 3 transactions. I don't think they're here. Kaylee Hepker, Emily Carlis, Dawn Cassidy is traveling. She's in Wisconsin right now. Casey Ophog, Stephanie Fellhauer, 2 transactions. Congratulations, Stephanie. Rocio Cantelli, Caitlin Tran, again, 2 transactions. Eileen Kitko, Andrew MacArthur, which I'm really happy about. First time Power Pro, 2.8 million in sales. It's really exciting. And then our #1 agent, Kara Grenko. Most transactions closed, top sales agent award. 5 deals, 3.6 million in sales. That's pretty great. If any of you are watching online, congratulations. Stephanie, Caitlin, can I grab a picture with you guys? Would that be okay real fast? Stephanie's like, no, I don't want to do it. All right. That's congratulations. All right, guys. Well, thank you for staying a little late. Congratulations. Yeah, and then Jill, your giveaway. Yeah.
Okay. Can I put my? Oh yes.
Everybody, submit your business cards.
Business card.
Right.
Okay.
And so this is for the photography package,
yes,
right?
I've got 3 $250 gift cards for photography packages with Johnson Creative Team. Let's see, we'll find a neutral third party here. Okay, Tiffany Time.
All right, Tiffany.
Awesome. There's one for you. Pass it back. There you go. Thank you. Okay. What's that? Bill Candela.
All right, Philip.
You are Philip. Sorry, not really Philip. Yes, sorry. Okay. Good Lord. And Todd Smith.
All right, Todd Smith.
All right.
Congratulations, guys. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here. And we'll see you in September for our next meeting. Call us if you need us.